Hi, welcome back to my channel. I talk about a bunch of different things, including spirituality, psychology, self love, conscious media. But today, specifically, I wanted to talk about the topic of manifestation and largely about how the universe works. I think specifically is that there is a lot of different messages that we are getting, and there is a lot of different theories about what happens when you manifest things, what happens when you create things through the power of your mind, and there are a lot of different techniques to do that. And I think through my experience again and again, I am, at least this is a theory that has proven itself right in my life. It's something that I have been observing for a while. And yeah, I feel like first, like things like synchronicities and stuff, it felt like something that is happening out there that is presenting itself to me. And it's almost like, there is some energy that comes from my mind, from my body, from something. It's connecting to something out there and it's attracting it into my life. And like universe or God or anything, all right? And recently I have been noticing how everything is manifestation in some way. It's like every input, and this is why I'm super passionate about the conscious media topic of the conscious media, and why I make videos on that. Um, it's because at its core, I feel like we're always manifesting. We watch something and unconsciously it's like a computer that takes an input and the output is your external reality. And just recently I had another experience that proved itself again to me, and I think it's easy to stop giving such a huge importance to synchronicities, or especially if they become minor or if they become a big part of your life. Like right now, I'm not even so surprised anymore. And some things I just kind of dismiss. So, like, yeah, we all connected. But I think when something major happens, and I don't see major in the sense, I think major in the sense where you can see a direct connection, but it's so random. So recently, um, so I have seen like myself watching a movie and seeing something so specific, so precise, and that situation would take place in real life. And the fact that it would take place, like without, by a random chance almost. So I saw this scene in a movie in a records music store. The place that I don't know if I ever been in my life, maybe once. Like it's something, actually I don't know if I have been. Like yeah, maybe I've been to like a vintage store um back in London, and there was some records there. That's like my whole association with it. I don't have a record player. I'm not really like, it's not really something that I would see or I would go to. And I really loved the scene of that movie, and I think that is also important, like the energy and the feeling associated with me. I really love that scene. I really love the movie. And when recently, so like literally yesterday, I ended up in a record store. Uh, and it was a manifestation of a very similar scene with somebody whom I just met. And the reason like we ended up at the record store, it was because I wanted to go to a place and that place was closed, and we decided to go to another place, like a coffee place, and right next door to it was a record store. And I've been to that place before, but I had no idea there was a record store next to it. Um, yeah, and we just went into it just by just like randomly, like super randomly. Um, and in the moment it felt so random, but also it didn't. And now I just remember it's about, how much we are always creating our reality, and why it's so hard in some way to accept that. For myself, I have seen so much manifestations of that, like I can see how much the input influences the output. And I think it's difficult because um, it feels like a big responsibility, right? Like everything that you put into your mind is reflected to you through the external reality. And that could be a big responsibility because, and I think ultimately because sometimes we don't know what we want, and at other times we think that this is what we want and this is what will bring us happiness, but it really doesn't. So, for instance, I saw myself in the past going into a very like controlling place of, if I have so much responsibility, I have to be very, very, very intentional with everything that I do and watch. But that intentionality manifested itself um, into control. So because that movie with the record store, it was a movie that I watched really randomly as well. It was just something that have popped up, and from reading about it, I wouldn't even think it was a good movie. Like it was just something I kind of put on. I was curious about it, and yeah, and I feel like if I had been choosing things myself, like I have been in the past, I it's like I'm using logic of like, okay, so I see how this works. Let me figure out what would make things the way I want them to be. And it's not always a bad thing. Like intentionality is a great thing, and you can really manifest a lot of things that you want, especially if you like laser focus on something. But I think again, it's just coming back to the last video I made about logic and intuition. There is a place of that dance, right? It's always a dance. You have to, um, being intentional and choosing your reality also needs to come with a little bit of that, not little bit, but with a surrender and understanding that there is something bigger than yourself, and that your mind can get in the way sometimes, and being able to surrender and let that spontaneity and unknowingness come into your life. um, yeah, so I just wanted this to be a reminder of both the magic of life, but also ironically in some way it's mechanical nature, because I feel like the process of projection, the theory of projection, it's it is somewhat mechanical and kind of brings it like to almost like a computer level, like um, input equals output and vice versa. And but it's also a good reminder of like the duality of the mind as a perceiver and perceive is Maya. That's according to ancient texts. And yeah, I feel like as much as we can understand and experience things, and as much as I have been researching this topic in some way, intellectually but also experientially, you come to a point where you realize that you can never fully comprehend something with your mind. You can never fully comprehend this dance of life. That is also, in Sanskrit, there is a word for it called lila, which I really love because it talks about that interplay of forces, right? That brings things together, and in such way that it creates that certain dance, like certain perfect mix of things coming into play and creating a bigger picture. Yeah. So if you're watching this, just a reminder of the beauty, and a reminder to also be conscious and intentional. Thank you for watching.